My name's Felicity Aston, and for the last 25 years I've been putting together exploratory journeys in all sorts of parts of the world, but primarily in the polar regions. All of my journeys have had a purpose, and often that purpose is scientific in nature, but there's also a huge human aspect to it. Scientific fieldwork isn't all about bringing back the hard data. There's a lot of other benefits that come with it. I've tried to make my expedition teams as diverse, representative and inclusive as I possibly can, and that mission is what first brought me to Oman. Back in 2018, I was putting together an international team of women to attempt to ski the last degree of latitude across the frozen Arctic Ocean to the North Pole. And so I came to Oman to find an Omani woman to join my team. I found an excellent team member who later went on to become the first Omani to ski to the North Pole. But also in the preparation for that expedition, I ended up bringing the entire team to Oman to train in the desert. And yeah, that's right, we pulled our polar expedition sledges across the deserts of Oman. It raised more than a few eyebrows, but in actual fact the desert of Oman has an awful lot in common with the desert of the ice of the Arctic Ocean, but that's probably a whole nother conversation that you'll have to take my word for it for now. But that journey, when it was over and we completed it successfully, we came back with a huge amount of scientific data, but of equal importance was the fact that we also returned with every team member now being an ambassador for the polar regions. And those ambassadors engaged an audience in the issues and the challenges that were highlighted by that journey. And so we will never know how many people that heard that story about that expedition and was inspired to perhaps take direct action of their own, or to find out more, or influence their thinking in their own sphere of influence. And that is a benefit of fieldwork that I think is often taken for granted and underrepresented. In recent years, we've seen a huge rise in the number of citizen science projects and also the value that's attributed to them. And citizen science doesn't just enlarge the ability of a scientist to collect data, it also provides a sense of ownership and engagement in those problems. And I think that is hugely powerful and a massive advantage of this new route that is being taken. You don't need to be a professional scientist to make a really valuable contribution. And all too often, we hear something along the lines of the world is a small place. And I think the huge success of remote sensing and the science we're able to do from satellites in space, the success of that has perhaps led some people to believe that we now have a view of everything, that we know everything there is to know, that we've already explored everything. But I, in fact, think the exact opposite. Yes, we now have this wonderful broad view of the planet, but what that has done is uncovered just how much there is that we still need to understand. We might have a high resolution view, but now we need to explore each and every one of those pixels to really get to the bottom of the things that we need to understand. And so remote sensing and remote science is never going to replace the value of boots on the ground, collecting information, and also having that experience and that sense of understanding and ownership of the problem and therefore its solutions. The world today faces so many huge problems, and the solutions that we invent, and I've no doubt that we will invent amazing solutions, those solutions are only going to stick if they involve everybody. And a great way of doing that is to involve everybody in the fieldwork and the science and the expeditions and the adventure that lead to that very important solution. In the polar world, We refer to the expeditions of the early 20th century as the heroic age of exploration. And yet I don't think it's any over-exaggeration to say that the next few decades have the potential to be the most heroic age of exploration there has ever been, because there is nothing less at stake than the existence of our planet. What can be more heroic than that? And fieldwork, citizen science, expeditions and exploration, I feel, have a huge and important part to contribute towards that goal.